Hey y'all, welcome back to the Submerge podcast with Camila and Benji. This is episode 6, and if you have not checked out our past episodes, they are up and running on Spotify, YouTube, and Anchor.
Yes, and if you've been listening to the previous episodes, I've been making reference to DNA tests to prove that this, in fact, is my teenage daughter. I am her father, but hopefully this live dispels all those nasty rumors that have been going on online about her not being my daughter, so calm down. But welcome to the Submerge podcast. This is our first live episode. We're really excited. We'll see how things go. Today we are talking about swimming. We're talking about astrology. It's called Swimming Beneath the Moon and the Stars, an appropriate title. But as always, just to remind folks, this is a raw, real, refreshing conversation between a father and his daughter. We're exploring all sorts of themes and submerged. Why? Because whether we're at the surface of things or very deep within a theme, we promise to keep you entertained. What else, Camila?
Yeah, and please be sure to follow us on Spotify at Submerge Podcast and on Instagram at Submerge Podcast as well. And our YouTube is at Submerge Podcast TV. You have to add the TV at the end. But yeah, so please make sure to share, and we hope you enjoy.
Wonderful. So today, Camila, I announced it already in the title. We're going to be talking about swimming. For folks that don't know us, we are both swimmers. I'm a current master swimmer. Camila is a current age group swimmer. And we want to give some advice, right? Some tips to talk about a special switch or event that's happening in the season. Mm-hmm. But then more importantly, today is all about astrology.
Yes, it
or
is.
maybe an astrology 101,
Sure.
shall we call it? And to help people out who are interested in astrology, introducing it to them, but then also figuring out maybe some things that they did not know, right?
Some
that
misconceptions.
Some misconceptions. Yeah, that's perfect. So on the first segment about swimming, I wanted to talk about the critical switch, Camila, from short course yards to long course meters. Right? And so can you explain to folks maybe who are not familiar with swimming what that entails and also what have been your experiences? What is this switch that I'm talking about?
Well, it's a very literal switch, as in you go from from yards to meters, and long course meters is how people swim at the Olympics. It's kind of real swimming. I think the U.S. is the only country that really does short course
yards.
Short course yards. But so short course yards is basically a 25-yard pool. And when you switch to meters, it's basically double that and a little more. So the length becomes double.
Well, let me clarify for people exactly. 45 meters is 50 yards, right?
Yeah.
And 90 meters is 100 yards. So if you're a 100-yard sprinter, you're actually having to swim 10 more meters than regularly. And so because the US is the only country that does not use the metric system, this is quite a shock to the system for a lot of swimmers, right?
Yeah.
And so it can, I think from when you move from 25 yards to 25 meters to short course meters, you can fake it till you make it, especially in the sprints. But anything over 100 or 200, you are in trouble. Like it will show that you're not swimming.
Especially if you don't prepare for the first long course meet of the season, you just fricked.
Yeah,
like,
you are fricked.
You get to the pool and you just get in for warm-ups and you're like, oh my God, when's the end?
Correct.
And I've had so many experiences where I go to swim meets and it's long course season and I'm like, oh my bro, I'm not ready for this.
But I'm excited about long course because that's where, I swam or mostly competed during the summers leading up to the Olympics, and it's what FINA, the body of swimming, really recognizes, and in terms of in the record books. And it obviously, yards has its appeal. It's exciting. It's fast. There's a lot of underwater swimming. But let's talk about this very short season, which happens, I would say, between April out to July, August, potentially. Yeah. So it's very short compared to the regular. And, there's not many articles out there talking about it and trying to help out swimmers. I found, an article from 2017 in May by a gentleman named Scott Bay. It's actually from a U.S. Masters swim program. And so he had some nice tips. He looked at it from these different point of views between rocks and sand, and he was trying to say, well, your sand is your base, then you fill it up with rocks, then you etc. So he for people who want to read that article, it was a nice one by Scott Bay. I wanted to come with some personal tips myself and some advice and suggestions to help young kids out during this time. So number one, you have to almost think that you're going to be more in open water. It's going to have an
Yeah.
ocean feel. Why?
Yeah. It's
Because the
just
walls are not going to rescue you
it's a
anymore.
while, and you're more dependent on your swimming than the actual swimming than like the flip turns and the underwaters, which benefits some people and doesn't benefit some people. Some
Correct.
people rely on their underwaters and their
Yes.
flip turns. Some people don't. I'm not very big on kicking underwaters. I don't like them. So for me, I feel like long course season, as much as I don't like it, I feel like that's like good for me because it's more of the swimming,
Correct.
you know.
So then, and I think the work that you've done in yards and in these short course yards and those turns still can help you out. But guess what? You're only going to get one shot at it. So this time you do maybe want to go a little further. And I think, one advice that I have going to your point on technique, Camila, is you need to work your distance per stroke.
Yes.
You need to pretend that or feel that you're grabbing the most water possible from that entry all the way to the back, because guess what? You're going to be swimming longer, right? So become much more efficient with your distance per stroke. And then when it comes to sets, volume increase.
Yes.
That means if I'm a 100-yard swimmer, I should be doing 125 at practices.
Yeah.
Or
Practice is
maybe
always
even adding a 50. If I swim
yeah.
the 200 yards, I should be adding a 50, right, to that practice. So guess what? Suddenly, sprinters like myself, like yourself, we need to completely almost change our mentality and embrace a middle distance approach,
Which
which
is so
absolutely
horrible.
trash, as your generation
It's
says.
horrific.
And
Like
no,
just
horrific is not the word. It's just, it's additional volume is going to bring more pain on the body,
yeah.
and it's just you're suddenly having to work your heart rate higher.
Yeah.
When you look at the scientific articles about this, is that the heart rate just goes up higher. It requires more effort. So guess what? You need to train more.
Yeah.
Period. There's nothing.
Right.
You won't be successful. One other tip that I have that's not mentioned in the article by Scott Bay, or I haven't seen, is I would encourage folks to train IMs. Why? Because you're using all the different types of strokes, all the different type of body muscles, and swimming 200 and 400 IM are already very taxing on the body, but then that prepares you for the long course meet, right? And I think there'll be some success there. Another tip is dry land,
Yeah.
right? So one, your back is going to be a little straighter, might feel a little tighter during long course,
Yeah,
because you're not as
definitely.
flexible with the turns.
Yeah.
And so add in some core work, whether that's abdominals, whether that's some yoga. The core work will help you out. And then what are you doing on Saturdays now before your practice? You are?
Coach is making us run 5Ks.
Coach is making you run 5Ks, because why? A little more endurance, getting your heart rate up, holding there a little longer, and preparing those lungs and that heart for that additional 10 meters, that additional 5 meters that you're going to encounter
Yeah.
in your sprint. So running is a good thing. This is not given to everybody. The last 2 points is, if you can find a long course pool
Yeah. Always
in
try
your
to get in.
area,
Always
try
try
to
to get
go
in.
maybe once a week. And that's, I said, it's not given to
It's
everybody.
difficult because long course pools in the US are like rare. Like
Yeah.
you always have to drive like at least an hour and a half for swim meets to get to some long course pool.
Yes.
Thankfully, we have one that's like half an hour away from us, but still it's like a drive.
And it's
to
not
get there,
always
you
when
know?
they do the setup
Yeah.
for long course. So you have to
Right.
find out the
You
days.
have to figure that out too.
If you are by the ocean, by the beach, um, if you can get to more flat water and safe, get away from
Yeah.
the sharks, then try that out. That might help out. Do some
Yeah.
open water swimming.
I think so too.
And then most important, not to be disappointed with the season. That first meet, yours is coming up at the end of April.
Yeah.
It's the calibration meet. Because
Yeah.
you're gonna feel the wall is far away. You're gonna get frustrated. So then remove that frustration, remove your expectations, and then just get a feel for that pool and that long-term
People
technique.
are always going to be adding time during long course season because obviously like the distance you're adding more, and I feel like that's also like a big thing that people like parents I guess who like don't know the difference between short course and long course season. They're just like, oh, it's just double. Like no, you're actually swimming like an extra 3 to 5 meters, and so your times are not going to be as close to your short course times as they are. So
Yeah, a lot of
you
people can
can't
get
get
frustrated with
frustrated
it.
with yourself. And I do get frustrated with myself, but I have to remind myself that it's like this is a completely different distance. So I just,
So build
you know,
build up, just like you're doing with your endurance. Build it up, build your confidence, remove that frustration. Use the first meet to calibrate, and then build on that success. So that's my advice. Hopefully, the young kids, even the master swimmers who are out there who have just entered maybe their first yard meets, and then they're going to go to long course meters. I want to warn you in advance. It's a
yeah,
very different feel, but that's what real swimming is because
yeah,
that's what it's judged in the Olympics. But
yeah.
so thank you for that, Camila. This is our main topic of the day. We've alluded to it in
Yeah.
the past
We
episodes.
made some jokes.
We've made some jokes, but our family's big on astrology.
Very
We
big.
like it. Some people are reading a ton of books about it, studying it, even can do charts. But we wanted to break it down a little bit for folks. So
Right.
the floor is yours. I'm gonna react to this because I'm gonna be learning some stuff myself. I know things on the surface, but you're gonna submerge us a little deeper today. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, just to start off, there's a lot of misconceptions about astrology. Like, I there's so many people that don't know really what astrology is, and it's interpreting the placement of the planets and the constellations in relation to the Earth, and um, to understand your personality, karmic cycles, and just your collective life experience, right? So every person has a natal chart,
That
or
already sounds heavy.
I'm sorry, it's kind of confusing. Bear with me. It's a natal chart or a birth chart. Everybody has one, and it's different for everybody. And basically, it's a map of the planets and their placements, the exact time you were born, and where you were born.
Okay.
So, if you want to look up your natal chart or your birth chart, the website that me and my mom use is astro.com. I'm sure there's thousands of other websites you can look up your natal chart with.
Astro.com. That's simple.
Astro.com, that's simple. I can
Okay.
link it on my Instagram for you guys to check out if you want to. But you just need your birthday, the exact time you were born, and the place you were born. Emphasis on the exact time you were
So the
born.
exact time you were born is going to be important, right? And you're going to explain that, but then not everybody's going to remember that. So
Yeah.
either go look for your birth certificate
Or ask your
call
parents.
call your parents,
Right. Yeah.
right? And we found a lot of people like
A
they
lot of people don't know the time they were
yes,
born. And maybe it's just big for our family because we're so into astrology. Like, we need to know when everybody what time they
right.
were born. But just go ask your parents or whoever knows what time you were born. You need the exact time because I'll explain what the ascendant is, but the ascendants change every 2 hours. So you can't just say, I think I was born in the afternoon, because I think there's like 5 different signs with happening within the afternoon. It has to be an exact
So
time.
wait, the ascendant is also what they call the rising
The
sign.
rising
The
sign.
rising sign.
I'll go into that.
Okay, got it.
First, I'll explain the basics. There's 12 signs: Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius.
Well,
So
so the order that you just gave it in, it's not the order that I normally hear because the
I'm
orders
just
that
going from the month of January to the month
understood.
of
Okay,
December.
because I've always heard
There's
that the
different.
first sign
There's,
was Aries, which is the rough draft of the
yes, yeah. I'm
astrology.
just going based off your month, and
Okay.
so your sun sign. I'll go into the big three. Your sun sign is, which is the main sign that basically everybody knows. I think it's the month that you were born is assigned to a sign, right? So, for example, you were born in the month of March,
March 11th.
the beginning of March. So, basically, end of February to beginning to like mid March, that is Pisces season. You are a Pisces.
Yes, I am.
I was born, actually, I think I was born like the first day of Cancer. So, end of June to mid July, Cancer. I'm a Cancer sun.
And that's what when anybody refers to astrology, they tend to concentrate on.
Yeah.
Is like,
Yeah.
well, it's like, I'm a Pisces.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a
I'm a
Cancer.
Cancer. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're both
So,
water signs, by the way.
yes, both water signs. I'll explain that too. But just for context, the sun is your way of being, your conscious self, your ego, your spiritual values, right? So it's not really what you put out there, it's kind of just what you feel within yourself. And so
So that means the sun sign is essentially who you
who
are.
you are on the inside.
Who you are on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll explain the ascendant because that is kind of your mask over your sun sign, but I won't confuse you guys. So there's 4 basic categories for these signs: water, earth, fire, and air. And there's about what, like 3 signs per category? Yes, math. 12 divided by 4.
Not bad.
so,
Thank
so
you.
water, earth,
Education.
fire, and air. So we've already told you we're both water signs, and Scorpio is also a water sign. I'm not going to go into specifics because I don't want to
So
go
Earth,
on
Wind, and
time
Fire,
here.
the
But
group that sings September, do you think they borrowed from astrology or no?
I don't know.
We need to find out.
We will find out.
Okay.
But yeah, so as I said, you're a Pisces sun. I'm a Cancer sun. Funny enough, my mom's also a Pisces sun. My brother's also a Pisces sun. And then there's Mateo, who's the only earth sign. He's a Taurus sun. He's like, why are these people always crying?
Then based on our profile, we've got 4 people that are water signs, and we have one kid
earth sign.
who's come to disrupt our beautiful Titanic, which
Yes.
is my Mateo
Yes,
with
we're
Taurus.
very emotional. Water signs tend to be super emotional. And you can look it up within your own sign, but earth tend to be more grounded, air tend to be the very talkative signs. Fire, I don't really get along with fire because they're kind of just really like, they're super passionate, but they're also kind of like out there, like, it's just
No, there are some
signs,
great fire signs out there, but yes,
they're not my favorite.
They can be a lot. They can be a lot.
Yes, they're not my favorite because I tend to be really emotional, and they tend to just be like, maybe it's just within my family and like the signs that are in my family, and I don't really like how they react to things, but I'll go more into detail with that. So the next most important thing, actually, I think, is your ascendant and your rising sign. So people tend to focus on your sun sign more than they do on the ascendant. Actually, I think the ascendant or your rising sign is the most important thing that you need to look at because it's your concept of self. It's kind of how you project yourself, like your personality. Like when you first meet someone, your first impression of someone, it's usually their rising sign. Like people will have the misconception when they meet someone, they'll be like, I think she's a Scorpio, but I think you're kind of basing it off of their ascendant because that's just how they're putting themselves out there.
So what you're telling me is that the ascendant or rising sign is kind of our immediate reaction to our environment.
It's your instinct, kind of.
So for example, if I'm going in for an interview at work, my ascendant is going to be more prevalent than my sun sign. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And also your ascendant.
And what about within my my social setting, with friends and acquaintances?
Yes, definitely.
They're going to perceive more my
ascendant.
I'll
explain your ascendant in a little bit. I'll use that as an example because you and mom are both the same sun sign, but you guys have very different ascendants, and I feel you guys are very different personality-wise and how you put yourself out there. But before I continue, your ascendant also connects with your physical characteristics.
Okay.
For example, my friend Lizzie, she's a Pisces ascendant, and usually Pisces ascendants have a very dreamy, soft look to them. She has these beautiful blue eyes, and she's very dreamy eyes. So it's an example for you.
Well, are you selling your friend now to the public?
No. I'm just.
Lizzie, I hope you're listening to this. It looks like you're going to be getting a lot of dates soon. Because the way that was just described to me, I'm like, ew, let's meet Lizzie. Oh, wait, I know her. She's my daughter's friend.
Wait,
Perv.
I'm sorry. I'm just giving an example.
No, we understand.
Physical characteristics, they connect more to your ascendant than they do to your sun sign. They can connect to your sun sign. Like Cancers tend to have really round faces. I have a really round face. But I'm digressing. Anyways, an example, as I said, you and mom are both Pisces sun, but you are a Libra ascendant and she is a Virgo ascendant.
What's the difference?
So the difference is you are very extroverted and you like to talk a lot.
What are you talking about? That's an absolute lie. Hi.
You're the social butterfly. So you kind of go with the flow and you're super diplomatic. And then there's mom, on the other hand, where she's very reserved.
She's going to be listening to this, so
I know.
Okay.
I'm going to be nice.
Choose your words nicely.
She's introverted, and Virgo ascendants, they need rules. They need rules to like go on with life, and you're more just like, oh, it's whatever. I'll go with the flow. You're
also making me sound very dainty.
Dumb. He's very diplomatic. There's positive and negative signs.
Yes. By the way, I want to let's explain this to the audience. Nobody's perfect here.
Yes.
Camila was making some opinions on fire signs. There's a lot of fire signs that I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you need to admire about people that you interact with. And there's some characteristics of fire signs, which are super admirable. Now there's there's other elements, yes, that can be off-putting, shall we say.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's the same thing with me. Somebody who meets me at the pool at 5:30 in the morning with my coffee, and I'm already talking up a fucking
Oh, it's a
storm,
problem.
and I can't shut the fuck up, and I'm making jokes because that's what I'm feeling in the moment. They're gonna be like, I want to stay away from that guy in his lane.
Yeah.
But then there's others will be like, I want to embrace him because for some reason that energy is
Yeah.
a magnet.
Yeah.
So listen, there's no wrong or right.
Yeah.
It's mostly this is who we are. We are very ambivalent, ambiguous as people, and hopefully this astrology maybe helps us solve some puzzles in life on our relationships, who we
Yes.
are. But I'm already detecting from both the sun and the rising that this is going to be a bit new to some people.
Oh, this is definitely new to
So
people.
sorry to interrupt there. I think it was
okay.
important to say that. So
Yes.
continue on the rising.
Right. So, with your Libra ascendant, for an example, I am not a very good mood person in the morning. I'm not a morning person. He is
That's
a
an
morning
understatement.
person. So
I already.
here- this is where
No, wait. Go back to episode 1. You'll see how I concluded. It was all nice, and I had loving words for my daughter, but I did call her a bitch because that's what she is in the morning.
Okay. Well, so it'll be like 5 in the morning. We'll be going to swim practice, and he's already talking up a storm. I'm like, just shut up. It's like not time to be socializing, and he just wants to talk. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God. And there'll be times after swim practice or when he meets my teachers, he'll just be talking for like an extra half an hour. I'm like, I want to go home. So he doesn't stop talking. And then there's my mom, who's just antisocial because that Virgo ascendant, she's so critical. She also has a Virgo moon, so it's just like double critical. She gets mad at people when she talks to them, and she kind of just tends to like wants everything to be perfect, and like whenever she finds something not perfect with a person, she gets upset very quickly. So it's just
Like she probably doesn't like the way I put my microphone. Yours is actually kind of nice.
like
I think I fucked
she
it up.
spent a good minute trying to figure out the placement of the table before this. Very critical of how things should be, where they should be, who, what, where, when, why.
Well, listen, that's a good thing because that means that's a person that's
Yes.
organized. It tends to be a
Yes.
person that also thinks of structure. And as we know, that's a favorite word. Abuelo's laughing, but structure is an important thing sometimes,
Yes,
right?
yes. So I feel like it's a good balance between you two because you're kind of just like, hey guys, and you're social.
Again,
she's like,
you're making me sound like
she just-
somebody else.
I feel like she brings you down to earth. You're the air, she's the earth,
I,
and it's
you
a
know
good
what?
like.
I have said to friends, and I've been very honest. I go, thank God that she's the Virgo ascendant,
Yeah.
because I'm a helium balloon sometimes, and I
So
tend to
am
fly
I.
away. So it's good that somebody she
she holds the
she
balloon.
holds the string because
Right.
I could fly away.
But I'm also an ascendant air sign. I'm an ascendant Aquarius. So I also talk a lot like my dad. So as my mother, she's also, I have a big mouth. So she's like the one that's like,
Shut it down.
keeps me together. So thank goodness for her. Although we just said that she has all these problems about being too critical, they're great. We need her for that.
So you mentioned during the during that little moment there about right before, you said moon, and you said Virgo moon. So talk to us about moon now.
Moons. Okay. Your moons are your inner self. They're your emotions. So kind of how you react to situations like emotion-wise. So for example, you are a water sign moon. You're very sensitive, you're very emotional.
Moon in what? Cancer.
Cancer. Your moon is in Cancer. So a thing about moons, the placement that your moon is in represents how your mother felt about becoming your mother. So
What?
no, for real. So my grandmother, she's a Virgo sun, and my mom ended up being a Virgo moon. You are a Cancer moon, I'm a Cancer sun. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like I didn't even like think about that till mom told me, but the moon is a reflection of how your mother felt when she birthed you.
Well, that's either a very comfortable conversation
Or a very
very
uncomfortable.
awkward one.
Like,
But
sorry,
but then,
it's like
okay,
a bad placement.
So that's a good anecdote there. But apart from that, then why is that also ranked in, let's say, the top 3, kind of planets or stars to look at?
Well, I mean, it's your
star,
big
sorry.
3. It's kind of just like part of your emotions are a very big part of you. So, like the other planets, yes, they're important, but your ascendant is your personality. Your sun sign is you, how you, your values, your spiritual values, and then your moon is kind of your emotions. And I feel like I mean, maybe I'm just being too emotional right now, but I feel my emotions are a very important part of the people I'm have relationships with and within myself. So, but yeah, the moon is also contradicts like a lot of, not contradicts, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the moon affects things that'll happen to you in the future or your past
Yeah.
or how you react to the things. So the moon is a good way to look at how you've reacted to things in the past. You could also learn from things that
So
have happened
if
with
we're
you
also then
those reactions
physically
too.
70% made of water, then either moon cycles and also wherever the moon is at, depending, then that plays. I mean,
Yes.
you hear non-astrological terms here or examples, folks that work in the ER or cops around the full moon. There tends to be a bit of nuttiness, and we've seen in movies, we've seen it in books.
The moon has always been an
The moon
archetype.
has always been a big thing in every single
Yeah.
culture. But then what do you think then that's what makes people kind of maybe go a bit nutty around the full moon, or maybe
I
more
think so.
emotional,
Yeah, there's
or
always
more
like,
sad or happier? What is it?
well, I think so, because the moon kind of represents your emotions, and that's kind of what people act off. So I think as the moon goes through different signs and different cycles, people tend to react in different ways. Like when the moon is in Aries or whatever, it's more of like a reactionary kind of like, for me, it's more of like an angry time. Like sometimes, I think it was a few months ago, the moon was in Aries and there was just some weird shit going on with the planets. And everybody was like, this is a time where you're going to want to murder someone. Like, and it was just
So is
like,
your moon in Aries every
no,
morning
my
when you
mood.
wake up? Is
No,
that you?
no, no, no.
No.
But it's just everybody was kind of in that like that mood, like the moon affects everybody as a whole. I
Right.
think, but your own moon and what placement your moon is affects you more than
Well,
whatever
it
the moon
affects the
is in,
oceans, it
right?
affects the tides. We're
Yeah.
made 70% of water. If we are connected, and we are talking here about these connections with the planets, the stars, and we and we started off with swimming too with the water. So I can see that having a big
Yeah.
effect. But then where your moon is placed,
Right.
right, and then also depending on where the moon is at, as you just gave an example with moon in Aries, that's why pay attention when people say, "Oh, it's a full moon tonight." You need to
Pay
find out
attention
what
to what
planet.
sign it's in because
Yeah.
it affects different people in different ways. Like I'm not an expert on this. Like if y'all want more on information on astrology, go reach out to my mom because she's like an expert about this, and I'm sure she could explain to you about this. But whenever the moon is in a sign, it affects different people based on where their planets are placed or where their moon is placed and what house it's placed in.
Got it.
So
There we might.
I'm going too much into detail, and
Yes,
I don't want to
we're
confuse
going
you,
far.
and I'm digressing a little bit. But yeah, so like
So let's try to
let's go
summarize.
back. Yeah,
Summarize for the people before we leave today. I think what I've learned is obviously my sun sign that I knew was Pisces is important. It's who I am, right? It's inside, but then the folks around me that I'm just meeting, whether an interview at work or a new client, I'm gonna come off as a Libra,
or
right? Is that why
party.
you?
Yeah,
And then apparently I've got a very soft
very
and
soft
very
moon.
watery moon in Cancer. So then, as I think my wife said, I need to feel my feels. So
You want to feel your feelings.
I
You just want to ball.
I just want to. Okay,
And
so
I just want to talk. My
okay,
moon's in Gemini. I want to talk. I want to figure out what's going. Like, why is this happening to me? What is going on? I'm very communicative because Gemini is an air sign, so I'm very verbal about my feelings. Where he's just very like reactionary. Like, I'm gonna cry right now.
well, yeah, I've already said,
Yeah.
it's tough with me. I'm gonna wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm like, you're gonna see it in my face. My face and my eyes, I think, will betray the emotions.
Like, we'll put on a dog commercial and he'll almost start crying.
No,
Like,
dog
and then, like,
commercials an exaggeration.
okay, well, I'm just giving an example. Like, you'll watch a really sad movie about like something happening, and you're the one crying, and I'm just
Yes, that is true.
like,
Well, I can't help it.
yeah, it's okay.
It's like commercials with children that I think when I was in my early 20s, I did not care for. I was like, turn this shit off, please. I don't want to see a kid in a Pampers.
And then you have
But
kids.
now, after you have children, you start to see stories, and it just affects you. It is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
But then, so what can you encourage folks who are trying to get into this, Camila, as we conclude today? What would you say to them to try to unravel these mysteries, these stars, these planets? I think the people who are paying only attention in the magazines they're reading or in the newspaper to just going straight to their sun sign, it seems I need to pay attention much more to my
Your
ascendant.
ascendant sign. Yeah. Just if you really want to get into it, I suggest watching a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of great astrologers out there. I could also post on my Instagram an astrologer that me and my mom like to listen to a lot. And we're always listening for our ascendant sign. We never listen to our sun sign because it's not really important. You listen to your
Rising
ascendant sign.
sign or ascendant, people?
Yes, you need to find YouTube videos on that and go find your natal chart, go find your birth chart. And if you guys want some help, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. I won't go into full detail about your chart because I'm not an expert, but I could always help you out if you guys need help finding your natal chart. But yeah, just go find out what all your signs are, what placements you're in. Remember, you need your birthday, the exact time you're born, and the city you were born in. Without that, I can't help you there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's my tips for you to go.
Beautiful. Thank you, Camila. Well, we certainly thank, for the first time, our live audience, want to thank Jadel, my wife, and Abuelo for helping us out on this engineering feat. As I said, it's the first time. Let us know what you think. Camila, what can people do to follow us?
Yeah, you can go follow us on Instagram at Submerge Podcast, run by yours truly.
Yes.
You can go follow us on Spotify and Anchor at Submerge Podcast. We'll be uploading, and turn on your post notifications so you get notified when we post. And finally, our YouTube, where you can watch this live video at Submerge Podcast TV. Emphasis on the TV,
Submerge
or else some
Podcast
freak
TV.
is going to show up.
Submerge Podcast TV on YouTube channel. Follow us, like us, send us comments if
Yes.
you are interested in.
Give us feedback.
Yeah, if you
What do
want to talk
us
about
to
certain
talk
themes,
about?
right?
Yes, what do you want us to talk about? We would love some ideas. Yeah.
So
we
thank
hope
you very
enjoy.
much. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Peace.
Au revoir.